Have you been putting off traveling or doing things because you don't want to do things alone? Stop doing that. Get out of the house, take the trip, take the adventure. Today, I'm going to share with you my top 10 benefits for traveling solo. I'm not tone deaf to what's going on with the economy, but in this video, I wanted to talk about whether it's just a day trip, a weekend getaway, or a grand adventure, all of the benefits to taking those trips on your own. And today I'm going to share some of my personal experiences taking solo trips to Disney, and also just experiences traveling with my kids and not having my husband with me. So grab your coffee, let's get to it. I've got both of my cats here, Dante, we've got Gideon on the stool, and we've got Dante in the chair, and I've got my Valentine decorations up for you guys. So let's get to the video. So today I'm going to share with you my top 10 benefits for traveling solo. And I had to make a list because I have severe brain fog and I'm going to forget half of what I wanted to say. So number one on the list is the complete freedom and flexibility. My gosh. I've traveled quite a bit in my days, and I've traveled with, extended family. I've traveled with my own family, and then I've done some solo traveling. What a difference when you're traveling on your own. You have the flexibility to basically do whatever you want. You don't have to check in with anyone else's schedule. You don't have to coordinate plans with anyone. You have the complete freedom to do whatever you want, schedule. You can wake up when you want. You can go to sleep when you want. You can have dinner, breakfast, lunch, whenever you want and wherever you want. I really enjoy that part of traveling solo is the flexibility to just do whatever I want. Number two is the freedom of expectations. And when you're on your own, you don't have to worry about other people, what they expect of the trip, what they want from the trip. You don't have to worry about trying to compromise and plan what they want to do and then sacrifice what you want to do. You have complete freedom from anyone else's expectations. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Lori, and this is Ever After 50. Thank you for being here. Here on my channel, I talk about all things midlife. I am a full-time working mom. I am midlife, mid-size. I have 2 cats. I have 2 adult kids living in the home, 17 and 20, and I have a small business. Any of this stuff resonates with you, I hope that you'll subscribe. I hope you'll stick around, and thank you so much for being here. Traveling solo can be a time for rest and healing, and in my case, I found that to be one of the biggest benefits. When I started doing my solo trips, I will say though, the very first solo trip that I took to Disney, it was very emotional because we would always go together as a family, but with my kids' schedules not lining up with school and, work schedules, it was easier for me to just go by myself. So for me, it's really a time to go and just kind of reset, reflect on, the past year, reflect on, things that maybe happened with the family, at work, whatever. And that's one of the biggest benefits for me is that I get that time away. I get to reflect, reset, and I come back basically a brand new woman. The fourth benefit to traveling solo is that you can have more meaningful conversations with people. When you're with your family, there's utter chaos. You're taking care of the kids, you're taking care of the husband, you're wondering where the bags are, you're planning, what ride you're going on, what, thing you're going to look at next. And there's really no time to have any conversations with literally anyone. And, when I go on my trips, I do enjoy meeting other people and have conversations and not be rushed and worrying about kids and bags and, who's going to eat where and who ate where and all that stuff. So I think, when you're by yourself, you really have that opportunity to have, conversations with people, get to know each other, laugh, have a good time. The fifth benefit is that you have a greater appreciation for what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. When you're with your family or when you're with other people, you're running around in chaos. At least that's how I feel when I'm traveling with my family. Mind you, my kids are older now, so it's not as chaotic. But, when you are with other people, you're usually rushed. It's chaos. You don't really have the time to, look at what you're doing, stop and look at the sights and have, meaningful connection to where you're going and what you're doing. And you have the ability to explore and just be present. The next benefit is the low pressure decision making. you don't have to check in with anyone else about what you want to do. There's not going to be any arguments about who wants to do this and who wants to do that, and someone doesn't want to wait in line and someone doesn't want to eat there or eat here. All the decision making is on you, it falls within you, and then you're going to just do whatever you want to do. I think I'm at number 7. I've lost track. But another benefit is it's the empowerment and independence. And we get so used to doing things with our family, or maybe our spouse is helping to coordinate things, that we kind of give up the reins on planning. And I mean, I'm typically the planner in our house, but you kind of rely on everyone else. Even if your kids are a little bit older, you rely on them to coordinate things and help plan, and you kind of let loose a little bit on, being in control. But when you're going solo, all of the planning is on you. And then when you plan and execute, like, a vacation, or just even if it's a getaway and all goes well, then there is that sense of accomplishment and knowing that, hey, you know what, you can plan things, you can execute plans, and you can get through all of the different, things that might pop up, like, oh, your flight was canceled, oh, your baggage is lost, like, and there's no one else there to help you sort it out. So again, this is another benefit, is like your increased problem solving skills, because you've got to figure stuff out. And so that's another reason why it's so awesome to get out there and take those solo trips. Number 8, and that is the budget. You will save a ton of money by traveling alone. And if your family didn't travel to begin with, then obviously there's not going to be a savings, because you'll be spending money to take a solo trip. But it's really important for mothers to get out there and do things for themselves. And I'm going to share another video here about releasing the mom guilt, that you need to prioritize yourself. But back to the budget. For us as a family of 4, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows the math, right? It is not cheap to travel when you go as a family. And in our case, we have a timeshare, so that saves us money on the accommodations. But, if you're going to Disney, the park tickets, the food, it costs a fortune. And, for me to go alone, we're saving a quarter of the cost. And, more and more, I know with the economy, people can't afford to travel anyways. And I'm very lucky, very blessed, I know. So in our case, we've got 2 kids, with one being in university, one starting university this year. So I feel like our family traveling is coming to a very quick end. But I think everyone is okay with me just going myself, because for me, traveling is one of my priorities. We cut corners everywhere in our life here to save money, to prioritize for other things. And for me, my prioritizing is obviously making sure our kids are taken care of and that their post-secondary is taken care of. But like, I want to have the money to go on a day trip or a weekend getaway. So, I put a little bit aside every week. But as far as the budgeting, yeah, you save a ton of money by just going by yourself. And then when I'm on the trips, I don't buy things because I don't need anything. And the rule is that neither does anyone else. If I'm going somewhere, we don't need all the stuff. We don't need junk from all these like trinkets and whatnot. No one expects anything. And, also when I'm on the trip, as far as eating, like, I don't need to go and eat out, 3 times a day. Usually what I'll do is I will go to the little store and I'll buy food for the fridge in the hotel. And I always eat in the hotel room in the morning. And then, throughout the day, I might have one meal where I'm eating out. So you save a ton of money on that. And I bet you will save a ton of money by traveling solo. Number 9 is that you're setting an example for your family. And in my case, I started taking the solo trips about 3 or 4 years ago. You're teaching your kids to be brave, to be courageous, to be adventurous, that you can solve problems and that you can do things alone. That's what I want my kids to see. I want them to see that, to go out there and adventure and to not hold back and not be afraid. And I think that with social media and the television news and like all that stuff, there's so much fear mongering out there that scares people, and it prevents people from getting out there and seeing the world. And with my kids in particular, I've always, tried to show them, let's not be afraid. You just have all of these fears from what you've seen and heard on television and the news and movies. But I wanted to show them that, okay, it's okay to go and do things. Don't be afraid of what you're hearing and seeing. Obviously, you always have to be safe. Don't be afraid to go and do things because of what you've seen or heard. You have to experience something yourself through your own eyes and your own experiences to really make a good judgment on whether or not you think it's safe and whether or not you like it. So that is, another one of the benefits is that you are setting a really great example for your family. The final benefit, number 10, is that you can travel at your own pace. And this also is really important and is something that I love. There's no rush, unless you've got scheduled activities, but absolutely no rush. And, when I go alone, I just putter around. I'm not in a rush. I don't even schedule things. So for instance, we'll refer back to my Disney trips. When I go, I'm not that person that gets up at the crack of dawn and gets over there for rope drop and, shows up the gate at 9 a.m. when they open. I stroll in whenever I feel like it. It's usually around 11 o'clock. I don't book any rides. I might book, the odd dining, but mostly I just wing it. And I'm not there to run around like a crazy person and do all the rides, see all the characters, go to all the meals. I'm there to just walk around, have my coffee, enjoy. I do go on a few rides. I will, of course, go for a few dinners, but I'm there to just relax. I'm there to, and I know Disney isn't a place people would say is a place to go to relax, but for me, I do enjoy just being there. It's fun. And again, it's not really everyone's cup of tea, but for me, I'm comfortable. I feel safe and I know the routine. I've got Dante here with me, but thank you so much if you've made it this far to the end of the video. And what I also wanted to share was, this doesn't have to be about going on a grand adventure. It could just be about taking a day trip or a weekend getaway. And, ways to make this happen would be to plan ahead. Plan, that you're going to put money aside every week. And I know that finances are tight for pretty much everyone, including us. But, I make sure that I put just a little bit of money aside every week, even if it's $10, $20. Put it aside in an account that you cannot have access to, so that that's your, little nest egg for travel and adventure. Use your credit card points, use points from whatever other cards that you might have. If you have to, pair up with a friend or a group of people, because then that you will save on the hotel room if you all are splitting it. We are very lucky. I know that I've done a lot of traveling, but we sacrifice in so many other areas that people don't realize. People will judge and say, oh my God, it must be nice. But, I do my own hair. I do my own nails. I do my own feet. I cook all of our meals at home. We only ever eat out maybe twice, 3 times a month, maybe. We are making all of our own coffee at home. We find every possible way we can to save money. And I'm going to tag that video up here if I haven't already tagged it earlier about saving money in 2026. So, and it's what's a priority for you and your family. For me, traveling is a priority. So I am willing to cut out whatever I can to make sure that I get to take my trips. If you plan ahead, then you kind of manifest it, make it happen, and make the changes. And, I don't like when people complain and whine, oh, that must be nice, when they don't make any changes in their own life to make the things happen that they want. That's my lesson to you is if you want something, make the change to make it happen. And I appreciate all of you for being here. Dante's being such a good boy. And if you have made it, thank you so much. Let me know in the comments if you've taken any solo trips, if you would like to take solo trips, and how you're going to plan to take your solo trip. I'm happy to hear from all of you in the comments. Thank you again for watching. We appreciate so much that you're here. And until next time,